Michael Popok back with Dina Doll. We're taking on Project 2025, Agenda 47, and we're calling out Donald Trump for what he is, which is a liar who's so transparently political that all he's doing is lying to the American people about a right-wing think tank led and funded by Leonard Leo of the Federalist Society founding, called Project 2025, led by the Heritage Foundation. And now, once we've ripped the cover off what the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 is all about, and their main tenets, which will affect in a negative way every American's life if we allow it to take over the government. Now that it's out, and networks, Dina, like ours, are talking about it. Now Donald Trump is walking it back. I don't know Project 2025. I never heard of Project 2025. Some of their ideas are crazy crackpot. It is his blueprint. It is exactly what within the first 180 days, if not the first 100 days through executive order, Donald Trump, is going to adopt every tenet of Project 2025. It's the reason that concerned Democrats have set up a Stop Project 2025 on the other side of the aisle. You got Jared Huffman in California in the second district. You've got who else is over there? You've got the chair of the Hispanic caucus, Ted Lieu, the chairperson of the entire Democratic caucus. You got Raskin. They're all gearing up and geeking up, and there's a reason for it. And Dina, you and I are going to talk about it. Project 2025, I started talking about it in 2023 and 2024 because there's at least 31 people involved with the drafting as architects of this 900-page manifesto. And whenever you hear the word manifesto, you got to think crazy crackpots like the Unabomber. You got 900-page manifesto about the complete dismantling of the government and reordering it and giving all power to a unitary president, to a singular president who sits above it all without checks and balances, the elimination of the civil service state, getting rid of all types of civil servants who are, have institutional knowledge about the agencies that they work for. And Dina, what we've watched is that the United States Supreme Court, and certainly the right wing of the court, Gorsuch, Thomas, Alito, have dragged Roberts, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett over and have served up some of the major foundational principles of Project 2025 are just right out of the Supreme Court decisions the last 2 years, including the immunity decision on July 1 and the decision overturning the Chevron standard for administrative review. Where did that come from? Project 2025. We're going to explore it. Let's start with you, Dina. Dina, why don't you talk to our audience about your understanding of Project 2025 and its fundamental tenets and principles, and then we'll talk about what we can do about it.
Well, to your point, this network we have been talking about this for a really long time, and I'm so glad that Democrats are really amplifying this and that it's not the best kept secret of how dangerous the Trump administration is. So kudos for this becoming more mainstream, let's say. And also the fact that people know this ahead of time and before voting in November is huge as well, because this group did something similar before the last Trump administration, but in terms of federal judges. Their idea was to remake the judicial system, and they had pre-approved and selected very conservative MAGA type judges that Trump was able to start appointing on day one. And that's why he got so many judges through. And we were caught off guard by that, right? We, the voters, were caught off guard by that, but we're not caught off guard by it today. This is months before the elections. The Democrats are doing a great job at informing people of how dangerous this is. They were very effective with the judges. Biden, thankfully, has been able to appoint as many, if not more, judges as a counterpoint. But the things that they're trying to do here with administrative state would be so difficult to unroll. And this is not about electing a person. It's about electing really how we think our lives are going to be. Because you're right, the Supreme Court has already rolled back a lot of what they call the administrative state. And really what this is, the administrative state is the regulations that govern our lives. It's perhaps the most important impact to our lives. They're planning on replacing 3,000 civil employees across all the states, the Department of Education, the EPA, the Securities and Exchange Commission, all of the rules that make our lives function, right? That we have clean water, that we have public schools, that we can depend on our stocks when we buy stocks. They don't believe in any of that and really want to remake it all. And that's why it's so dangerous. And Trump is not only a liar, he's a puppet. Like, let's be frank here. He thinks he's all powerful. He doesn't have power. This group has power. And they have a public website. I went on that public website, and there are 3 pillars. The first one is creating a presidential database. So if Trump thinks as president, this has nothing to do with him. Literally, one of the pillars is a presidential database. This is the 3,000 civil employees they're going to kind of pre-approve to get elected. The second pillar is presidential academy training for these employees. Against the word, the presidential is right there. So he cannot try to walk back and act like this has nothing, to do with him. And then the third, as you say, is their first 100-day policy for the new administration. All very, very clearly tied to the presidency and to Trump. So yes, he's a liar, and he's also a puppet. And this is what is going to make him winning so incredibly dangerous. But at least the voters do know about this, and we get to continue to amplify it here.
Yeah, and the voters get to shut it down. If you don't like the sound of what Dina and I are going to talk about in this hot take, get up off the couch, as I know our audience is going to do. Make this a participatory democracy, a contact sport, and make sure your vote counts and that votes count in the 5 battleground states. That's how you defeat this. And you're also right to call it Trump's a liar and he's a fool. All he's doing is substituting one administrative state for another. He's going to bring in the dark administrative state that's going to far outlast his particular brand of presidency. Even if he were to get reelected, he's going to be lame duck after a year. He's going to die sometime in the 2027, 28s or whatever it's going to be. But this is going to live on. In fact, the head of the Heritage Foundation, this all starts with the Heritage Foundation. And the people that are in the Heritage Foundation, 31 out of 38 of the people that drafted the 900-page Project 2025, which is basically Agenda 47, named after the 47th president, which is 81%, were officials in the Trump administration. So for Donald Trump to say, which he recently did on his social media, quote, "I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them." That is a lie. Stephen Miller is involved with and helped draft this 900 pages. Johnny McAtee, who was the head of the Office of Personnel for Donald Trump, was there. Ben Carson is there. Ken Cuccinelli is there. They're all there. And you're exactly right when you said the one thing they were able to do with Leonard Leo, the Federalist Society, Svengali, what they were able to do on day one in the first administration, they want to make sure they're not caught flat-footed on day one of a second Trump administration. And they want it because they thought they were, that Trump, not having been in Washington before, didn't know how to drain the swamp. He didn't know where the swamp was. And so they were like, crap, he wasted 3 years and we could have really tackled all these other things. But what they were able to do through the judges was to get, there's 3 or 4 tenets, if you will, of Project 2025. The first is that the Department of Justice should not be independent, that it should be under the direction of the President of the United States under this unitary president theory. Who subscribes to the unitary president theory? Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas. And then they're able to drag the other more right of center centrist over with them. It also creates the imperial presidency. Where have we heard about that lately? The immunity decision on July 1 is a good place to start. They want to destroy the civil servants that, Dina, you just talked about. They want to replace them with direct appointees by the president, beholden to the president. And what's going to help them with that? The decision the week before by the United States Supreme Court overturning Chevron and making federal judges, not agencies, have the power. He wants them, the Project 2025, and therefore Trump wants to overhaul all the agencies they hate, which means to decapitate them and hollow them out. The FBI, like, we don't need an FBI. It's just crazy. The Department of Education is going to be completely mothballed and put out of its misery. And also they want to get rid of, besides the FBI, they want to get rid of the Internal Revenue Service, because they don't like the Internal Revenue Service. They don't like revenue or service or bringing in money into the federal government, because they want to shrink the federal government so small, frankly, that you could drown it in a bathtub. That's Grover Norquist. Grover Norquist, who was one of the spiritual leaders of Project 2025, 20 years ago, used to make Republican candidates take an oath to him before he would give them his, at that point, a very important endorsement. And one of them was to do exactly what Project 2025. So this is not new. This has been lingering around for the last 30 years in one way, shape, or form among the right-wing MAGA Supreme Republicans. The head of this organization, I want to talk about him for a minute, Dina, is Dr. Kevin Roberts. Apparently no relationship to Chief Justice Roberts, but he is equally bad right now. Not only does he head the Heritage Foundation as a think tank, a dark web think tank funded by Leonard Leo, but he also heads their lobbying arm. So there's a complete lack of, there's no wall between these two entities. He is an election denier. He says that there was massive fraud during the 2020 election. Joe Biden is an illegitimate president, even though the Heritage Society's own database on election fraud only identified 1,500 total cases of fraud, which of course is not outcome determinative. And when the press challenged Roberts and said there's only 1,500 cases of fraud nationally on your own website, he said the Democrats are very good at fraud. They're very good at fraud and not getting caught. How convenient. But on a recent podcast, of course, with Steve Bannon, Roberts went one step too far and started talking about a revolution, including a bloody revolution, if the left and the progressives stand in their way. Let's roll that clip.
As you know, this audience, Project 2025, Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise by forwarded by Dr. Kevin Roberts, edited by Paul Dans, Stephen Groves, which is it's a blueprint for a conservative approach to the Leviathan, a project that's been worked on for a while. Dr. Kevin Roberts, a star turned this morning because they absolutely, totally, and completely melted down.
Project2025.org, project2025.org. And I just want to underscore what you just said, Steve. Let's say someone is inspired to go participate in this, but they say, Steve, Kevin, I can't, as Kevin likes to say, tithe 2 or 4 years to go to D.C., but I want to be part of what I call the Second American Revolution, hopefully bloodless or no more blood than has been spilled by the left.
All right, Dina, you take it from there. Kevin Roberts, the head of a foundation that believes a bloody revolution is a way to impose their ideals on us. If we let them get the keys to the government, it'll be a permanent change for the next 30 years. What can our viewers do about it?
Mm-hmm. You said it. They can go out and vote. They can get 5 of their friends to go out and vote. I mean, this election is all going to be about voter turnout, period. I've been involved in a lot of campaigns, and voter turnout is a difficult thing. And anybody can help by making phone calls, knocking on doors, do as little or as much as you can. This is going to be about turning out the vote. I mean, I have friends who aren't, are iffy, to be quite honest, which is shocking. But, I respect people have their own opinions. There's a lot of amnesia about Trump. And I always answer with Project 2025. Always. Because Trump lies so much and his position on anything changes all the time. So it's very easy for somebody to say, well, Trump wouldn't do this or wouldn't do that. And I always say, well, it's not about him. It's about the fact that he's going to remake the government, and that is going to impact you more than maybe anything a president can do. A president is limited in their power, but all those civil employees who keep us our lives safe and running, like the FDA, the food we eat. Do you not want that to be regulated anymore? That's not going to be if Trump wins. Continuing that message, amplifying that message, going to vote and getting your friends to vote is the way to stop this. When you hear him say, hopefully this is a bloodless revolution, that should scare every one of us. I know we hear so many scary things, but we can't normalize that kind of conversation. But thankfully, it's only July. There's a lot we can do until November to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reason that Donald Trump is trying to walk it back is because, and he's a liar about it and a charlatan, is he's not walking anything back. He just wants public deniability and optionality in order to see. You see, even in his own statement, Dina, he says, there's some things in there are just ridiculous and I don't agree with, but he doesn't tell you what they are. Is it the one where under abortion, mifepristone will be banned, which means the chief way that women receive abortions or able to obtain abortions and their own reproductive health and rights through medicated abortions, primarily in their home, is going to be eliminated? Is that his problem? Because now he's trying to soften that up in order to make him more palatable to some sort of move to the center, because he knows he can't win with just the MAGA right. The MAGA right does not get Donald Trump elected. Let me be clear. It's not the MAGA right. It's not large enough. It's when independents and others give him the benefit of the doubt like they did last time and pull the lever for him in the voting booth. And that's how he gets elected. So we need to deny him that. And the way we can deny it is to say the emperor has no clothes, although that's a terrible image when it comes to Donald Trump, and call him out and say, we know what you're going to do on day 1 through 180 of your new presidency if we allow you to get anywhere near the White House again, because not only are you saying it, but that big 900-page book developed by all of your leaders of the prior administration are saying it for you. And for him to panic, because he's panicked, because Project 2025 looks so terrible in terms of the overthrow of what our administrative state, our constitutional republic looks like, that no person in their right mind would ever agree to this. I mean, Kevin Roberts says, well, this will reestablish the relationship between the American people and their government, and be able to have a good, transparent conversation. What's the conversation? The elimination of the federal government? And let everything go to the states. See, that's the solution for Republicans. That's the tell. When you hear Republicans and Donald Trump say, leave it to the states, abortion, leave it to the states. What that means is he knows 23 states in America that are going to vote religiously for Republicans are going to vote against women's rights, rights for immigrants, due process rights, criminal justice rights. He knows that. That is the code word. But we're on to them. And that's why I started talking about it a year and a half ago with this novel, silly little thing called Project 2025. And now look what it's become. It is the blueprint for the next Trump administration. He will bring back into power with him, if we allow him to, he'll bring in a rogues gallery of felons, convicted or otherwise, back into the White House to regain power. That is what they're trying to do. You can't call it anything else. So if you're gonna vote for Donald Trump, or you're gonna stay home and not vote at all, that is what you're voting for. I'm all fired up now, Dina.
I'm fired up too. And the thing is we know we can't trust what he says. So look at his actions. And he let this group, dictate before with the federal judicial system. We know this has been done. They've done it before. They're going to do it again. And most Americans don't want to have to worry about regulations, clean air, clean food, their children's school. They just want to enjoy their lives. So this is this is, you can't overstate how significant this is. But at least we can do something about it today. And I hope this, as you said, elections get won or lost with people in the middle. Both sides have their core people that will come out. So hopefully this will convince the people in the middle how scary Trump is. And it will be a talking point that we can use when we talk to like our fellow Americans, and the Democrats can talk to the voters too.
And I'll summarize the talking point this way. It's a math equation. Project 2025 is equal to Agenda 47, which is the blueprint for Donald Trump. And forget what the Republican platform looks like. That has nothing. The Republican platform is bread and circus. It has nothing to do with how Donald Trump is going to govern. You want to know how he's going to govern? You want to know what he's going to do when he wakes up the first day if he gets elected and is sworn in? It is Project 2025 and Agenda 47. No other way to put it. Forget all these other things. It is a distraction from what we're trying to accomplish in this election. Dina, I love doing these with you.
Me too. We can talk all day.
let's keep it up. All right.
Okay,
so this is, but for now, I think that's how we end it. Unless you have something you want to add on to that, for this particular Project 2025 expose duet.
No, I think hopefully we're fired up. Hopefully we're firing up people. Let's keep this going so people know exactly what the Trump administration will look like.
Dina Doll is a legal correspondent for MeidasTouch. She's all over the MeidasTouch network, all its social media channels, and does a lot of things with Francis Maxwell and duets here with Michael Popok. You can catch me on all my hot takes and on Legal AF, the leading talk show or podcast at the intersection of law, and sometimes it's a talk show, at the intersection of law and politics, right here on the MeidasTouch network, on its YouTube, and then on all major podcast platforms. Wednesdays, Saturdays, Legal AF. Until my next hot take and Dina's next hot take, Dina Doll, Michael Popok signing off. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.